Hey everybody, Steve from SolarWinds here. Today we're going to look at WanKiller. It's in our gadget pane under the diagnostic tools. Like any other gadget, you can right click and open it with the context menu, double click it and drag it out there. We're just going to double click it, open, size it. If we take a look at our settings over here in the upper right, you can change your gadget title name. All other settings are in the actual gadget screen itself. We can drop a device into the target hostname or IP address box. We can open it and take a look at devices that we've looked at before through this WanKiller gadget or any other instance of a WanKiller gadget. We can select our protocol. We allow you to select either UDP or TCP. If you select UDP, we're going to be sending bits out and not really concerned with what's catching them. If we select TCP, of course, you're going to need a listener to make sure we can set up a connection. Ports, we allow you to select the echo port, the discard port, the SolarWinds WanKiller port of 17790, or a custom port. You select custom, type in any port number. We're going to go ahead and go with SolarWinds port. Bandwidth, this connection is a 1 gigabit, so we'll select 1 gigabit. Also, we can select whether or not we care if the device responds to an ICMP query. This means if it does not respond to an ICMP query and we have this checked, we'll notify the user that the device is not responding and we won't proceed further. If we uncheck it and we don't care if it responds, that's useful for devices that have their ICMP turned off. Okay, if we look at the source port settings, this basically allows us to set the source address and port that's sending the data. So the default here is an IP address of 0.0.0.0 and a port of 0. Port 0 just picks a random port and uses it. Under the IP addresses, there'll be a list of addresses that are on this machine. So we'll go ahead and use the default address. A pretty thing here that you can do is you can check that whatever settings you set here are what are used by default in any new instances of WanKiller Gadget. So the next setting we can set are the QoS settings. If you come over here, you can set choose from basic predefined QoS settings. These are all industry standards, or you can go into custom settings. You can set your precedence bits, you can set your delay bit, your throughput bit, your reliability bit, and your bits for congestion notification. Now, in order to use the QoS settings, your machine has to have been configured at the OS level with the QoS capability. And there will be notes down here on the bottom that guide you through whether your machine's set up. It'll detect that for you and guide you through how to do that if it's possible for your machine. Just go with best effort, say OK. Now over here we can control the packet size. We're going to use fairly large packets and set percentage of bandwidth just at 20%. We've got it set to UDP, and we're going to set send to this address. This will tell us at the bottom the packets per second that equates out to by the combination of bandwidth, packet size, and percentage of bandwidth desired. This message down here will give you the breakdown of how that comes out. We click Start, and this tells you that we're sending out the packet. This checkbox for automatic inter-packet gap adjustment will let the machine automatically detect the speed and adjust appropriately to get your target goal of 20% of bandwidth. So one thing that's a little bit different about the WanKiller gadget compared to some of the other gadgets, but there's also application-wide setting. For WanKiller, you can get to those down at the bottom. The WanKiller icon has the little green unhappy face. You can right-click it and select WanKiller settings. You can go up to the application settings on the toolbar and open it there and select WanKiller. Now this sets up your listeners. With WanKiller, you're going to have a sender and a listener. So I've got this machine set up to listen for both UDP packets and for TCP packet. We can select any port to listen on. The default address listens to any address, and then here's the port we can set. Any port number you want in here. We're going to go ahead and leave it at 17790. Which is the SolarWinds port number for WanKilling. And the same is true for the TCP packets. We can listen on any address. We're going to go ahead and select all and the default port. Down here where it says default source address and port for WanKiller Gadget, this is that information we looked at earlier over here under source port, but where this lets us set it for just this gadget only, over here this allows us to set this as a default. So we can send out of 10.3.2.26 port 18990, and that becomes our default When we click OK, we're going to go ahead and stick with our basic default settings. When I click OK, we'll now be listening for UDP packets and TCP packets, both on port 17790. Okay, so when I click Start, the listener icon will show that it's listening. Our video software is interfering with the animation on this icon a little bit, but normally it pulses darker and light when information is coming in. And since I'm also listening on TCP, I'll set that. We can see that it's working there. It shows us how many packets have been received on both protocols. Now normally you would set up a separate machine to do your listening than your sending. Just set them both up on the same machine so I can easily show you on this video. And that is the WanKiller Gadget.